Welcome to Lesson 3 of our first section of Hope on Preparing to Heal. Now that you have considered the importance of your view of God, theory of change, and current condition of your heart on your ability to heal, the next important step in preparing to heal is to spend some time identifying some common false beliefs about trauma, emotions, and emotional wounds, and how they work, that can keep you from seeing the truth and finding the healing you need for your heart. As I review these common barriers, follow along in your note-taking guide and consider ones that you tend to believe and how they might be impacting your healing. There are several common reasons why we often have a hard time accepting the reality of trauma and our wounded hearts and how they continue to affect us. First, we think that because we can't see our emotional wounds, they must not be real. We tend to focus on the outside, the here and now, or believe being strong and soldiering on with our willpower is the solution. We may think that looking deeper is a cop-out and will make us weak somehow. Since we can't see emotional wounds and they are in the past, they can't still be real. Second, we don't think emotions should be woundable in the first place. Since emotions are invisible, it shouldn't matter. We tend to believe the old sayings of things like, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me," or "Big boys don't cry," and so we just stuff our feelings. We act as if faith and attitude alone can or should prevent us from being human or getting emotionally hurt. This is not true physically, yet somehow we believe it should be true emotionally under all circumstances, even with those we needed to love us most. We think we should be strong and able to withstand anything without it hurting us. Sometimes we believe the saying, "What doesn't kill you make you stronger," when again, this is not true physically. In the real world, sometimes wounds actually weaken us and actually cause us harm that's more long-term, that we need to recover from. Even if we survive, it doesn't mean we were made stronger. Third, we want to believe that time really does heal all wounds. We want to believe that since something happened in the past, it should naturally heal and be over by now. We believe ideas like, "Just get over it," or "Just let sleeping dogs lie. Why are you still thinking about that?" Even though we often know that we are still hurting, angry, or sad about something, we wishfully keep telling ourselves that we just need more time and everything will be better. Fourth, sometimes we think only our behavior should matter. Like the Pharisees of old, we may focus only on the outside and think that it is what someone does, shows, or accomplishes, or how they perform that matters the most. In essence, we believe in outside-in living, fake it till you make it, self-effort, and willpower as the things that matter the most. Trying harder is often the answer to everything. Whereas trying harder and willpower and pushing through things is important for success in life, it doesn't make wounds from the past automatically go away. Similarly, we think focusing on the present is what matters most oftentimes. After all, the Bible tells us to press on toward the prize and focus on our higher calling, right? The problem is that wounds may not heal or may still be affecting us, and our unresolved pain tends to leak out and affect the present as well. Another common belief that can keep us from honestly facing the condition of our hearts or wounds is that we think that acknowledging pain will only make us selfish or self-pitying. We may think that if we just deny our pain, problems, and emotions, that we are being self-sacrificing and giving. We think attention to ourselves is wrong. And again, certainly this can sometimes be partly true, that we need to suppress our feelings for the sake of others or our children or other situations. But this idea can often lead us to feeling fake and that we are living a life of pretending instead of authenticity, trying to appear not self-focused, but we really are due to the internal pain and effort it takes to keep the pain away, and we keep putting on the mask. Sometimes we need to be temporarily self-focused to heal so we can truly have what we need to love others. Just like we sometimes need to go to the doctor or need to go to the hospital to get the treatment we need in order for our bodies to heal and be physically active and able to do the things we want to do again, the same is true of emotions. I often tell my clients that you can't give away what you don't have. You can ask me all day for $100, but if I don't have it, I can't give it to you. Facing the condition of our hearts and allowing God to heal them allows me to have something to give away and focus less on me. Finally, we can commonly think that dealing with our pain or facing the past will lead us to resent others and only hurt our relationships more. We're concerned about blaming and going back to find fault with people. The reality is, though, that we are often already hurting with our unresolved or unhealed pain and may already have bitterness, resentment, or anger that is unresolved, and we're just ignoring it. The goal is not to stay focused on blame or bitterness, but to seek understanding, resolution, forgiveness, and freedom for what happened in the past, not to stay stuck there. Proverbs 14:8 tells us, "Wise people give thought to their ways," and that is what we are seeking to do as we heal from the pain of the past. Before I describe how emotional wounds often work in our lives in the next section, take a moment to pause this video and place a check mark next to the beliefs in your note-taking guide that you can identify with about your emotional wounds. How have these beliefs prevented you from getting better so far? Are you struggling with any of these beliefs now as you begin the program? Take a moment to identify them and reflect on how you might need to think about them differently in the coming week. Welcome back. I hope reflecting for a moment on some of the beliefs that might get in the way of your healing was helpful for you as you move forward. Let's talk a little bit about emotional wounds and how things really work. If I were to walk up to you right now and suddenly pull out a knife and slash your arm, how do you think you would respond? If you are like most of us, the first thing you would probably do is try to cover it up. As you're trying to stop the bleeding or what you don't know about what happened underneath your hand as you're covering it, you might start to tell yourself things like, "It's not that bad, it's not that bad," hoping that the wound that I caused really wasn't as significant and you'll be able to get on with your life. As a result, you may start also to tell yourself things like, "Everything will be okay," and even pretend that it will be in your mind. This would be a natural way of responding to a trauma and trying to just not believe that things were as bad as that you're thinking that they might be. This is what we would automatically do on a physical level. Next, your tendency might be to try and just ignore the symptoms, hoping they will just go away. Going to the emergency room is unpleasant, and we might have fear that getting treatment will cause even more pain. Or we might not know where the emergency room is, or feel that we have the resources or people to help us get the care we need. As a result, we may try to just move on with our bandages and keep going, or we may have to move on if treatment is not readily available. Either way, this can result in the wound becoming infected. If this is the case, then the infection will tend to grow and spread and cause further complications in other parts of our body or system. Similar to this reaction that we may have to the above example of a physical wound, if we are not honest about the reality of our emotional wounds, or don't have the safety or resources and supports available at the time in our lives to deal with them, we often just keep them covered up and spread our energy hiding them, trying to cope, denying them, or telling ourselves they aren't that bad. As a result, we adopt a variety of strategies to avoid, medicate, or suppress them as we move forward with our lives. So here are some ways we often handle trauma and intense emotions of past pain so we don't have to face them. The first strategy is that we may try to deaden them. We may use legal or illegal mood-altering drugs or habits like alcohol, marijuana, sex, gambling, social media, gaming, shopping, watching TV too much, sports, etc., to medicate ourselves in order to cover up intense feelings and avoid them. Next, we may just try to disown them and refuse to admit that we have them, like when we are in an argument and say, "I am not angry," or we may try to blame someone else for making us feel a certain way. Third, we may distract ourselves from them, attempt to minimize our intense feelings by keeping ourselves busy and distracted as much as possible with work, business, church, TV, our kids, sleep, books, fantasy sports, etc., all as a way of just distracting ourselves from having to deal with our anxiety or our depression or other symptoms of emotional pain. Next, we may just detach from them. Some people learn to detach their inner selves from what's happening around them. And when they begin to have an intense feeling, they stuff the intense feeling and refuse to feel it. Or they may just end up avoiding being involved in relationships with people who ask them to feel or engage in a deeper way. You may be in a relationship now with someone where they feel frustrated that you're not emotionally available. This could be a sign that you're detaching from those inner feelings and pain that you may have. Another way people respond to intense emotions and pain is just to downplay them. They reduce negative or unacceptable emotions by saying things like, "No, I'm not angry, I'm just concerned." Our favorite response to the question, "How are you?" is fine. Another strategy is just to deny their importance. We tell ourselves that we shouldn't feel that way, or that good Christians focus on joy and thankfulness and counting their blessings. And finally, we may derail them. We may transform the emotional need into another area of our lives or desires, convincing ourselves that we would feel better if only we could have something or be different in our appearance or relationships or job or lifestyle, etc. Instead of these approaches that will only keep us stuck and will never allow our wounds and sources of painful emotions to heal, we need to face them and allow the healing process to take place. So let me describe a brief overview of what this requires. This is also the process that this Hope series will help you to follow step by step toward healing. The first thing we need to know to heal our wounds is that we need to uncover our wounds and have a safe place to do it. I hope this Hope program is that place for you, that you finally decided that it's time to uncover your wounds and that this community and this process will be a safe place for you to finally do it. Second, we need to assess the damage of our wounds from the past and how they have continued to the present. Simply ignoring it or keeping the bandages on and never taking them off to see what the wound is really like and how bad it is will never help us to heal. The Hope program is intentionally designed to help you assess the damage and figure out exactly what kind of treatment the wounds that you have need to move forward. The next step we need to take is we need to clean out our wounds. Just looking at them and assessing the damage won't help them to heal, but as we clean them out and begin to actually clean out the debris or give them the surgery we need, the processes of natural healing that God built into our brains and bodies can finally begin to take place, and we can begin to recover from our trauma. Next, we need to treat our wounds and let others care for them and tend to them if needed. Not all wounds can be healed on our own. We need the help of others at times. The Bible is clear that we're a body and that we need the ministry and gifts of other people to help us heal and grow. The same is true when we have emotional wounds. Next, we also need to give them time to heal. Although it's true that time doesn't heal all wounds alone, it still takes time to go through a process of healing that includes also grace and truth, and again, the love and support of others in order to replace the hurt of the past. And finally, we need to do the work of therapy and learning and practicing truth to help them heal. Healing is always a process and also something that we have to be actively involved in. Unless God decides to work a miracle in our lives in some particular area, there's always a process of development involved in everything that God has made us to be. We don't grow up into adults physically overnight, our bodies don't heal overnight, and our emotions don't heal overnight. But it doesn't mean that they won't heal or that through time and development that we won't improve. As we read in the introduction to this series in Mark 2:17, we hear that on hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Acknowledging and honestly facing the condition of our hearts is the first step to healing. We are sinners and our hearts are sick, including being prone to self-deception, division, and brokenness that continue to affect us. But there is good news as we seek to heal from our core trauma. We all have sinful hearts and broken hearts to one degree or another. And God has already said He wants to forgive and be our source of living water and abundant life, as we have learned in the previous lesson, and has provided His Spirit and the body of Christ to get us where we need to be. So here is the approach to treatment we really need to heal. We need a great physician and a surgeon who knows how to diagnose the problem and has the right medicine, tools, and treatment and ability, and that is God and His Word. Second, we sometimes need nurses to monitor our progress and keep us heading towards help. Counselors, coaches like me, pastors, small group leaders, 12-step groups, community situations like we offer here in Hope, and other resources to come alongside of us in the healing process and guide us in the steps we need to take. Next, we need aids to understand our pain, to remind us to take care of our wounds, and to help us take off the bandages as we heal. These are often our friends in recovery, and again, I hope that the Hope community, through our Facebook page, and through our time together in our coaching calls and other times that we offer through prayer and other resources, can really be that place for you as you walk through the healing journey. Before we move on to describe the next lesson in this section of Hope, let me take a moment to pray for you as you continue your healing journey. Father, I want to thank you again for each person listening to this video. Thank you for your love for them and the healing work that you are doing in their lives, and for their willingness to come and be a part of this program in order to seek you and allow you to do that work in their lives. Lord, I pray for each of them, whatever they may be struggling with as a barrier that keeps them from moving forward, that you would come alongside them and reveal your truth to them for what it really is and open the door for them to heal. Lord, I also pray that you would begin to help them to see the journey ahead of healing that you do have for them, that it's not impossible, and that they can face it with you. Thank you again for the work you're doing in our lives, and we commit this to you in Jesus' name. Amen. After completing this lesson, please move on to Lesson 4 to complete your healing reflections and exercises and share it with me in the private community. I hope this lesson was helpful for you in identifying areas that might be barriers to healing going forward, and I look forward to seeing your responses as you post your work in the private community and begin to move on with hope. See you in the next lesson.